Welcome everyone to this week in Svelte episode 128. The thumbnail is wrong, I know, but I am a lazy guy and I forgot to tag Karim, which usually handles the thumbnails, and so like we gotta do with the old one. I'm sorry, guys, but we will fix it later for who are watching this on YouTube later. But that's not the important bit. The important bit is that we are here and we can explore the changelog. Oh my god, my hairs. There's some pretty nice like first thing here, which I'm pretty excited about. So I would say let's jump right into it and we can check. We can start with, I think like this we already did, yeah, this was last week. And so now we have Svelte 5.47.0, which has two minor fixes, which those were basically made while working on this, which is the start of the release, which is a minor change. Because I don't know if you know about it, but you can, like in Chrome, I think in also Safari, but there's now the ability to use customizable select. And what is customizable select? Well, selects are generally very hard to style. And so generally when you need to write with a very custom select, when you need to handle a very custom select, people generally tend to just use a div with a bunch of buttons and then wire everything with JavaScript. But that's a bit of a silly thing because like you cannot use that without JavaScript. So there's no way to do it without JavaScript. It's not the best thing in the world, but yeah, you know the deal. But Chrome actually shipped with a brand new way of styling select. So now in Chrome, you can actually use rich content inside the option tag. So like, for example, I can say hello, and then I can say I word, and this I think really shows how old I am, because right now this would probably be M and strong, but I grew up in the world where HTML were with single letters and stuff. But the point is, like, as you can see right now, it doesn't change anything. So like I'm not changing this stuff, but where what you can do is that you can style them. And you just need to say that the select and the picker of the select, and you can say appearance is equal to base select. Now, once you do that, you can see that now this is like, for the moment, it's still very, very ugly. But you can see that like it is like this is bold and this is italic. And once you have that, you can pretty much do whatever you want. So like you can add another option with a completely different thing. You can add images inside. So like I could say image source https on splash.it/300, maybe, I don't know, 50, which is better. Alt, I don't know, something. And now when I open it, you can see that like I'm actually like using an image inside an option. Like I'm selecting an image. Now, obviously this doesn't show up. I wonder if it's a bug in Svelte. Because, I mean, no, I don't think it's a bug in Svelte, because the point is that if you want to also style, like as you can see here, is not styled, what you need to do is that you, like, also other than option, the select now also accept a button as the first element, and you see that now everything disappeared, because if there is a button, I can basically write like select what you want here, and now the problem is that like now whenever I select something, it doesn't show up there. But if I want, I can make it show up like this. I can say selected content, and now selected content, and now selected content now is actually a thing. Like, sorry guys, I am a bit sick. Selected content basically takes whatever is inside the selected option and it clones that inside the button. And so as you can see, like now it's actually like using the right image or the right thing. And you can also style them. So like you can style the check mark here. So I can say check mark, and I can say display none, for example. And if I do that, like there's no check mark anymore. But I can, for example, style an option. I can say checked, and I can say background is equal to red. So now one, is it this checked? Yeah, just one checked. And so now when it's selected, you can show that it's selected like this. And you notice that like the selected content doesn't actually get styled because this is just option. But the nice thing is that you can also style them differently. So like I can say selected content, and I can also say that the B tag inside the selected content should have color red. And like now, only when it's selected, it has the red color. Like this is like, it's crazy the amount of customization that you can do. And this is a popover, so like you can also style them. I also did like, I mean, I'm showing you this kind of stuff now just to show you what you can do. But I actually built something much nicer before. So like, as you can see, like this is a select, and I can click on this, and these are all the frameworks, and I can select view, and I can select quick, I can select angular, I can select svelte, and it gives the thing outside. So like it's pretty nice. Now the problem, so like why couldn't you use this before? So like if we switch back to Svelte 4.46 like this, you can see that button is not allowed to be a child of select. And if I remove the button, B is not allowed to be a child of option. So like, we had to stop you from doing stuff like this. There is a specific reason because of why you can't do that. And just to show you, technically, I could already use this. So like, I could do, like it's a small trick, but I can do snippet, selected content, for example. And if I use the snippet, so this is the version where it doesn't support this. If I move it into a snippet and I do at render selected content, it doesn't complain, Svelte, because it doesn't know that it's a button inside. And same thing, I can do snippet option 1 / snippet, and I move this here, and I can do snippet option 2, and I can move this here, and then I can do at render option 1 and at render option 2. So now, as you can see, this is basically the same as before. Now, what is the problem with this thing? Is that if you try to server-side render this thing, it will fail to hydrate. And there is a reason for that. I mean, yeah, no, it will literally always fail to hydrate, regardless. So the problem is not during client-side rendering, because during client-side rendering, you can do it and it's fine. The problem is during server-side rendering. And the reason for this is a very specific reason. So let me show, so let me I can show you the JS output. No, I can't. That's annoying. Is there a way I can show you? No, I don't think I can. But okay, let's remove every problematic stuff. Hello world. Image. So this is not even okay. Let me add something dynamic here, mat.random, just so that it's dynamic, and let me add something mat.random here. So all of this to show you the generated code. As you can see, like, to add this mat.random here, what we need to do in Svelte is that we need to select the select. So like this is, we are generating, or when we are iterating, we are actually like under the hood, this root is actually saying, okay, let me grab the select that your server generated. And then we are saying, okay, give me the child of this select, which is an option. And then we are doing option.textContent is equal to hello world, blah, 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 right? Now, what is the problem in all of this? The problem is that if I try to do this, for example, right? Now, this is blocking me from doing it, but imagine if it was not blocking me. Like, I could have just removed the issue and that's it. But the problem is that once I have a b tag, what I would have to do is that I would have to say like var b is equal $.child option, and then b.textContent hello world mat.random, right? So for example, let me actually show you, like if I do div and div, for example, so that we don't have the limitation of the select, right? So I can do div and div, and then b, right? So you see that what I have to do is that like I get the select, and then I do .child of with the option. Actually, you know what? Let me do selects and options so that it looks more options. So like this is not the actual option, it's just considered a div, but at least I can show you better. So like I get the select, I get the option, and then I get the B from this. So all of this seems like reasonable, right? The problem is that if you are in a browser that does support these kind of stuff, then the B is actually inside the option. But if you are in a browser where this new parser is not, like the new select is not implemented, like Firefox, and I think also Safari should be in a preview. If you are in such a browser, then the problem is that there's no B there. So like, even if you server-side render a B, the moment you open the page, there's no B there. And I can actually show it to you if I open Firefox and I go to CodePen, for example. So let's say that I do this. So if I do select, and I do option be cool, option like this. Now I like imagine that like me, this is basically me server side rendering this stuff. And if I let's say that I zoom in a bit, sorry. So like if I click here, this is a normal select, but if I inspect, you can see that inside the option there's no B. And I can even do it inside the JavaScript word. I can do const option. Actually, let's do the same thing that would do Svelte. So I can do const select is equal document.query selector select. And then I would do const option is equal to select.first child, I think. So if I do console.log option, this should be an option. So like if I open this, like obviously I don't have a console, like that console is not capable of doing this. First element child, I think. Yeah, okay, so if I do first element child, you can see that the first child is an option, right? And then I would do something like const b is equal to option.first element child. And now if I console.log b, you can see, maybe you could have seen it if I didn't clear the console. You can see that B is actually null, as you can see. I hope that you can see it. And if I take the same exact code and I move it to Chrome, hopefully, so like, let's say that I switch back to my thing here and I do pen.new. Let me zoom in a bit. Now if I do the same thing here and I do the same dance that I was doing there with the JavaScript, you can see that now I have a B tag. Maybe you can't see, but trust me. So here it is, a B tag. So like, as you can see, like basically two different browsers have different like way of interpreting the HTML. And that's pretty bad because basically it will mean that if we allow to do this without doing extra work, what happens is that the code that we generate goes here and then tries to do null.textContent, which doesn't work in Firefox, but it works in Chrome. So like the same code, it will work in JavaScript and it will not work in Firefox. It will work in Chrome and not work in Firefox. Luckily, we don't have to do that anymore because now we actually implemented a fix to this. And so now, if you update your code to the latest version, this actually works. And the nice thing is that we are the first framework to implement this so that hydration can actually work. So like, you can technically do it in the other frameworks, but again, it doesn't work. Like it will throw an hydration error and it might cause problem building or rendering and stuff like that. So like, effectively, this is the first framework where you can actually use this kind of stuff. Yeah, so Script Raccoon is saying, I didn't know that browsers can just remove HTML tags. That's dangerous. Yeah, unfortunately, like On one end, that's good because basically you can write very shitty HTML and the browser will try to correct your HTML. But that's annoying when you do stuff like that. And actually, I actually talked with Adam Argyle, which is like one of the CSS. I think he worked on this feature for Chrome, basically. Because technically, this feature was a breaking change for the web. Because they shipped a new parser, which changed the behavior of first child for the select and the option. And that's dangerous because, like, obviously I don't think anybody was doing stuff like this, but it could have been a breaking change. And it's a bit annoying for framework authors. But regardless, I've already talked with Ryan Carniato, so he's pretty deep into async solid, so he will not be able to do it. I might be able to open a PR for solid because it's pretty similar to Svelte. And I also talked with Daniel Rowe from Next. I don't think I will be able to open a PR to Next because it's a bit different, but I'm talking to them. So like hopefully every framework will support this soon, and you can use it regardless of your framework of choice. Until then, use Svelte. Even after, use Svelte. Something interesting, by the way, which I'll show you the moment I open this changelog once again, because like this was 5.47.0, and then we have 5.47.1, which is trigger selected content reactivity. And this is funny because let me show you. Oh, that's a bug. Oh, because I don't have a selected content. Okay. Button selected content. Okay. So you see this now. One of the nice thing about this, like the fact that we actually hydrate this, is that if I do stuff like this, is equal to $sign state 0, and I do button on click is equal count plus plus count. If I do stuff like this, what I can do is that instead of doing math.random here, I can do count. Let me remove it from here. And the fact that we actually hydrate this means that even if I have an I inside an option, when I open this, like it's actually putting the content here. And if I increase this, you can see that it's actually increased there. So like that's pretty nice. Like reactivity works. But now watch what happens if I do 5.47.1, sorry, 0.0. So like this is the version, the first version that we released. I increase this and this works. I increase it again and this works. I select it, I increase it, and it doesn't work anymore. But if I open, it is working. What? And so this is one of the gotchas with the selected content, like the custom select. And it's the fact that once you select something, that option is cloned. So like it's like the content of the option is taken and put instead of this selected content. But it's a completely different content. So like it's cloned, but it's basically its own content. And so if we like Svelte, what it's doing is that it's updating this I. So like it's, if we take a look at the code for this, you can see that we are doing set text, text1, image, blah, 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 blah. So like this is what is wiring the reactivity. And we are setting the text of this specific text, which is inside this I tag, to the updated value. So if you take this and you clone it and you put it inside of selected content, even if we update this one will not be updated. And so that's pretty annoying, right? Like, I don't know if anybody is doing stuff like this, like is creating, like is doing like reactivity within the option. I don't see a real reason for doing it, but I mean, maybe there is. And so that's why on 4.47.1 we fixed it. So like now if I open this, you can see that now this is actually working. And we had to do some pretty weird thing, because basically what is happening here is that whenever we encounter a selected content, we output this function here. Here we output this $.selected content. And what this does is that basically this is saying, okay, inside this function, we are going up until we find a select. So we find the select that contains the selected content, and we apply a mutation observer on the select, so that whenever you change something inside the select, be it a text or an option or something, we take the button and we update the selected content with a new one. Like we clone the selected content and we replace a clone of the selected content. And that triggers the browser to reclone the original, the selected item. And so that's how we can actually do stuff like that, which is very annoying, but again, is one of the other of the quirk of the selected content. But overall, I think it's very nice. And I also had we did a video on this very channel on the selected content, and to showcase it, I've built this other selected, which is still a framework selector because I am that crazy. But you can see that like this was designed by Claude, so it's not designed by me, but it is so nice. Like, look at this. You have framework, you have select target, and you click and look at this. And like this looks fantastic, and you can see that like there is the download since page load stuff that gets updated, and it's always updated. It's styled differently from here and here. Each one has its own color. It's very nice. And the nicest thing, in my opinion, about this is that I can just go here and do false. And this is basically disabling client-side rendering, which means that there is no JavaScript involved in the page. In fact, you can see that you cannot, like the download since page load now doesn't work because that requires JavaScript. But it still works. Like, look at this. So like you can have a select that even when JavaScript is not available, so like maybe you are downloading the bundle, you are in a very bad area and it doesn't, like it's a very nice progressive enhancement. And you may ask, like, how does this look when you open it in Firefox? Because Firefox doesn't work, right? And spoiler, it looks a bit ugly. You can technically add a support CSS. So like if you add that support, you can style it way better than what I did. Like I put zero care in this, but I mean, it works and it still looks somewhat decent. And you can see that like, yeah, like you are, like it is kind of working. And so I would say that like it's still a nice progressive enhancement. And again, you can do stuff like maybe if there is if it's not supported, you can hide all of these. I think it will work. Let me see if it will work. For example, I think I can do something like I can do add supports appearance base select, Um, let me say, like, if I do, I don't know, body, background, red. Oh, actually, I should do the opposite. Like, this is when it supports it. Okay, I don't have the energy to do that. But you get the point. Like, you can technically use that to style your select in Firefox differently based if it's supported or not. So I'm very excited about this stuff. I think it's a nice addition, and I can't wait for it to be available in every framework. Let's see, we have export parse CSS from Svelte compiler. So like, this is a new feature. We actually need this in SvelteKit, but it's also a nice addition. So like, the point is, right now, if you wanted to only parse the CSS of a component, or even some CSS using the Svelte compiler, you couldn't. You had to literally create you parse a whole component just with a style and the CSS. And since we needed it, now you have access to that too. So if you need to parse some CSS using Svelte, you can do it. You can do it like this. Fix handle non-string values in Svelte element these attribute. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder, what does it mean though? Because let's see. Svelte element with a boolean this. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So like, if you have a boolean for a falsy Svelte element, it can, like it was crashing before and now it is not. Faster the duplication of dependency. So like, we're doing, like, and by me I mean Rich is doing a lot of performance improvements. So like, expect a bit of performance improvements. So yeah, that's pretty nice. Let's see, we have SvelteKit. We have two changes. Breaking, remove button props from experimental remote form function. So yeah, okay. So button props was a way, so I don't know if you know, but basically what you can do with a button is to like link it to a different form. And so we had to support this thing. So like, you can have a button inside a form or even outside a form that when you click it, it will submit that form. And that's just an HTML property. Like, it's basically there is an HTML attribute, which is the form attribute, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Button form attribute. Button. Yeah, form attribute. So like, the form attribute, you can basically put the ID of a form there. Sorry, it's very small. And it will submit that form, even if it's inside another form, even if it's outside of any form. So that's pretty nice. And before, you had to do like button props, so which was a specific thing just to do that kind of stuff. But we realized that you can actually just use this, which is a bit longer, but is more coherent. Like, you don't have an unexpected button props somewhere. So like, is my form fields action as submit register. So that's very nice. We have 2.50.1 include hooks.server and hooks.universal as explicitly built inputs to ensure assets imported by hooks file are correctly discovered. So if you were importing an asset inside one of the hooks file, it would have been like, it could have been not discovered. And now it is. Improve fields type for generic components. Oh, that's interesting. Let me see. Reintroduce the original solution and propose a suggestion. was made in that PR to simplify the type, but that appears to have been a mistake as it caused issue with generic component. In this PR test that will otherwise fail, a function that represents a generic form component. Okay, so like that's for, yeah, that's for form. Okay, so like you can have something like that. So yeah, that's pretty nice. So like you can have generic forms. Remote form field root. Yeah, all right. That's pretty nice. Preload links in if href changes. That's also very interesting. Okay. So if one of the href is dynamic, then the preload on over was failing. And now it is not anymore, which is interesting. All right, that's it for SvelteKit. Let's see, we have adapter Cloudflare. Ensure manifest paths are relative when building workers. Update dependencies. Disable gzip and broadly when precompress is equal to false. That's interesting because obviously if it was not precompressed, you would not output this gzip and broadly. This is something very nice, by the way, of adapter node. It will generate the compressed version of the file so that it can serve it without compressing them before. That's very nice. Adapter Vercel. Show remote function call under the up remote root in observability. Prevent incremental static generated routes from handling remote function call. Oh, that's interesting. So incremental static regeneration it's a very interesting stuff because basically what you can do is you can basically have a dynamic route on demand. So like if something changes very slow, what you can do is that you can pre-render that route, and then whenever it changes, you can trigger a new pre-render of that page. It can either be a time stuff, like you can say every 10 minutes re-render it, or you can say like whenever I submit this form, I will call a re-render of that function. That's very nice. I didn't actually play around with that a lot, but it's nice. Enhanced image, ensure compatibility with Vite plugin 11.7. Use API filter instead of ID filter. So, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, this is just a change in Vite itself, which was adopted by Vite plugin Svelte and now needs to be adopted by Enhanced image. We have two new releases of MCP. One, to expose the playground link as an MCP app. This is very, very cool because basically, if you never use the MCP is basically a way to interact with your agent. And if your client supports it, you can basically use this to see a Svelte Playground directly in your chat. Let me show you. So you need to use VS Code Insiders for the moment. They will obviously release it also outside VS Code Insiders. And you can see I was testing this. But if I create a new chat, new session, okay, let me close this. So I now have, let me zoom in quite a bit. Okay, so I am in a chat. And I can do list server. I can start my Svelte server. Let me do this. So now I am connected to the Svelte MCP server. And now I can say like, can you invoke the playground link with a simple counter component? And this is just to like do it quickly. But you can imagine that maybe you are prototyping something and you are like going back and forth with the agent to create a component and stuff like that. What you can do is that what this will do is that it will create the component, and then it's launching the MCP app. Now it is failing to launch it, but once it figuring out how to do it, you can see that you literally have your Svelte playground inside your VS Code chat with the code that the LLM generated. Now, obviously, this is using Svelte 4 because it was not invoking the autofixer. I could tell him, like, please invoke the MCP, but that's not the point of this video. The point is that you can see that, like, you can even interact with it directly here. You can see the preview, you can play around with it, and then you can say, like, okay, I played around, it's using Svelte 4, please use Svelte 5 and the autofixer. And so if I do stuff like that, like, as you can see, I can basically tell the agent, after I verified the code that it wrote, I can tell the agent how to fix it, and then hopefully, yeah, generate a new playground. So now I can say generate a new playground, and now this is the updated code, which is using onClick, which is using $state. It looks the same, it works, and you can play with it. That's very nice in my opinion. So like, not like, obviously, like if you're using Cloud Code or Open Code and stuff like that, they don't support MCP apps yet. And probably Cloud Code will never, because obviously it's a terminal. But yeah, that's a pretty nice thing. It's a standard now, and so this will hopefully sooner or later also work in ChatGPT and in Claude Dev, for example. I use it a lot when I'm prototyping, like on the phone, for example. So that's very nice. And then I also updated Svelte because it was not aware of the fact that the select now is available, and it was messing with it. But yeah, that's it for the MCP. We also have a new Open Code plugin. So if you use Open Code, you can install these inside your project, and this will give you three things. It will give you the MCP server. So like if you automatically, like if you already set it up, the MCP server manually, you can remove it, and this plugin will keep it up to date, and it will install the MCP server. You will get an instruction file that basically will tell you, hey, use this MCP server, this is how to use it, and stuff like that. And you will also get a sub agent that it will be invoked by Open Code whenever it needs to write and to use any MCP stuff. Because like if you tell create a counter component, it's a pretty self-contained task, and so basically it will spin up a sub agent with its own context window so that it doesn't waste your main agent tokens. It will go back and forth with the MCP server, get the documentation, go back and forth with the autofixer, and write the file within the sub agent, and then return back. So like you don't waste tokens. It's very nice, and it will set up everything for you. Soon, probably, I'm talking with the Open Code team, but we will also be able to add skills. So once that's the case, you will also get the Svelte skill through the Open Code plugin. So that's pretty powerful, very interesting. One new release of SV, don't generate types on install, use the dedicated script. With this thing, ESLint extension, we don't need to set ESLint.validate anymore. Oh, okay. So like with the new ESLint, VS Code ESLint stuff, we don't need to set this anymore. Remove Vite preprocess in all default templates. Oh, that's a nice addition. Technically, you don't need this anymore. We were adding it because like if you want to use some weird TypeScript like syntax, the one that is not actually like that is generating code, you still need to use Vite preprocess. But to be fair, like most of the time you don't need it. So like it was just an extra step. So that's a good thing that we are removing it. add the promptless command to readme.md on svcreate. Oh, okay, that's nice. If you don't know, like when you create if you create a new project with SV, it will also give you a small string, which is basically, okay, if you want to create the same exact project the next time without us asking you any question, just run this command. That's very nice. And now it's also added in the README. And we have a new release of esrap to fix some multi-line issue with bubbles up through child context. Remove extra margin between multi-line objects. So like this is the library that we are using to turn an abstract syntax tree to JavaScript. So in Svelte, for example, we construct an AST and then we publish it with we print it with esrap, which is parse in reverse. And that's actually it. All right, guys. As usual, like it's still 45 minutes. I'm sorry, I'm blubbering too much. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I hope you got a nice week. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.